welcome back to another episode of Dumpster to Dyno. You saw us running through the whole process of cleaning it.
Today we're gonna take you through the process of machining the block. We're gonna start you off on the F79, deck the block, bore the block, and we are gonna take you over to our honing processes and we're gonna show you those. So
let's do it. Guys, remember, watch out for this red injector. Somewhere in this video we will place it like an Easter egg, and you need to comment in the comments and say where it is and what time. The first person to do that will win some free swag.
You guys aren't gonna believe this, but this block turns out to be a pretty good block. Like, it actually made it through all of our first qualification stuff. We've got one more thing we've got to qualify it, and that's this F79 that we got to put it in next to and start the boring process, which isn't boring, it's super exciting. It's not boring, dude. Do it. This is the next step in the operation. Now we've got Dillon, runs our F79 here, and we'll get this thing dialed in so we can get it in the machine. One of the cool things that the F79 allows us to do is blueprint a block. Okay. One of the worst things I've seen on a Cummins for sure is upwards of 20 thousandths.
Really?
Out of round, not in line. So blueprinting allows us to actually put the cylinders in line with the crankshaft. And I'm gonna show you how we do that.
All right.
Dylan's gonna start prepping this block to be able to put what we call our center line. Basically, we have a bar that we make, which we'll show you, that we put in here, but we're gonna prep the mains and prep the bottom end of this to put it together so that we can start the blueprinting process.
All right.
Yeah. Go ahead. You can just be doing it. Oh yeah.
First thing we do is we want to do a quick check of the cam bore. Make sure that the cam bore isn't screwed up.
It looks good. Perfect.
And it doesn't take too long to check it. If there's something bad, it'll jump right out at you. So that looks pretty good. So next, we just want to take a file. Make sure there's no high spots on these pan rails.
And why are we doing this on these pan rails? Because when we go into the machine,
it sits on the pan rails in the machine. So if there's any ding,
burr,
anything
ding,
anything that adds material, it's going to sit just not
wonky.
right in there. So we just do this, kind of check for those high spots. Now we just do it again, right on top where the main cap sits.
we're not trying to file any material off or anything like that.
No,
all we're
not.
trying to do is
just sit in the machine.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So then now we add our chamfer on the mains.
We're putting a little chamfer on them so that when we go in with the line hone, it doesn't have any high spots that grabs or anything like that. So.
And we take it on the number 2 and the number 6 mains, and we just scrape them. Make sure there's no burrs, dings, high spots, just like the pan rails. Because we put an alignment bar that sits on these mains, so we want to make sure it's nice and flat for it.
So does it only sit on number 2 and 6?
The alignment bar does, yes.
Okay.
So these alignment bars, they don't make this stuff. We had to make these bars for this purpose, and this will ensure that we are once you understand, we're going to measure off this alignment bar, our center line in the machine knows it's going to come in and probe each bore, and then when it bores a hole, it's not only going to bore it, just follow the hole, it's going to put the hole, if it needs to bore 5 thousandths more to one side than the other, it's going to put those back in line. You do all of them, don't you?
Yeah, we do all of them.
But right now, it's
But
just
right now, it's just number 2 and number 6.
Okay.
Just when the machine's probing, I get all the other ones. And it's just like the mains. After we chamfer them, we just get our scraper. Make sure that there's, like, you can see a little bit of stuff in there, but it's on the metal because we scraped it. We know because we scraped it. So
One of the things, like, that's kind of an art doing that chamfer on there. So when I first came down here and started working, that was one of the first things I learned how to do. And I had a box of messed up caps, and I remember Andy teaching me how to, like, do that chamfer, and man, it's not easy. As easy as that looks right there, like it'd be funny. We should grab a couple of bad caps and have you try to repeat that chamfer that he just put on there.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
Is this something
And you can ruin a cap.
is common in engine building, or is this like a...
No, it's just something we do to try to make sure that we don't have anything. It's definitely like when we bolt this together right here, that we're not grabbing this and we're not influencing this bar anywhere.
So once I get these caps in, and I have the dowels lined up and the dowel holes, so I know I'm not going to smash anything. So I got to make sure that they're in. So we get the super torque ugga dugga. Just run those down. Try to twist this. So if it moves, these aren't holding it in, but they're holding it in. Same carbide scraper, and I just mainly focus right here in the center. Right across that. And try to make that a lot flatter so we can fit a level right there.
Okay.
Because if not, that's going to raise my level up, and it's going to tell me this side is higher, or you know what I mean? Like it'll say level, but this side will actually be high. Just going to double check that, and that feels good. I just come at it from all angles, just make sure it just cleans up differently from different angles. And it looks like it is still too high on our end. Double check. Yep, and that agrees.
If it's touching down right there, how do you go lower?
We raise this side up.
Oh, okay.
So we have shims that we put on those bases to raise this end up. And we don't know what end is higher until we put it in the machine and do that.
All right, so now that we've got it leveled this way, now what we really care about is that we're going to make the deck parallel with the crankshaft. So that's why we have that bar down in there, is we're going to measure on number 5 and number 1, and the reason for number 5 is because the table pivot point is right under number 5. So we're going to get both ends of the table, and we're going to make the bar that we put down in there is going to be our home, our level. That's what we want everything to be based off that crankshaft bar. So not only are we going to do the cylinders that way, but we're going to do the deck as well. As going to be parallel to that crankshaft or the bar that we put in there.
Nice.
We're going to put in this spacer bar. And this spacer bar, which is on top of the bar that we put in. Take this down, trying to line it up where I like it. Go to 0. You see, it's just off. This is the difference between this block and the last one. And I move this up and down, just take out any slack that is in the machine. So
What's really cool about this is he can move it in tenths, 1,000ths, and tenths, thousandths, and 10,000ths. So each click, click, click you hear, he can make it so that it's only moving a tenth of a thou, or a full 10,000ths moving.
Okay. Precision.
yeah, so we're about 1/10 off, so add in another tenth. When I say tenths, I mean tenth of a thou. I don't mean tenths of an inch.
Okay.
That can be confusing. So right now, we're about 1.5 from where the last block was. So I'm just going to 0 that.
Okay, so that is now our 0 of where the crank is. Now we can come over, do this in the front hole, and we can start leveling the front of the block up or down. We're not sure. We'll find out here in a second.
Yeah.
To match that.
So all this thing is basically just it's measuring off the that
instead
rod.
of having this
off
rod
that.
that's this long,
Yeah.
that goes down in there and touches that. Where
You
this
already
is a parallel.
Yeah. Okay.
That's exact,
Yeah.
that's sitting on there.
we're 0.4 of an inch lower than we were over there.
Okay.
So then we just move the table
And
up.
so, because this is the pivot point, we know that that's staying right. Right.
It'll move.
It'll move a little.
We'll go back and forth.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
It's a lot of back and forth to make it level, but
Okay.
it's not a lot, but it's just,
That's part of the process.
This whole process should take about 2 hours from start to finish today.
wrong way.
But it's taken us all
I mean,
day.
yeah, but this block was really rusty. You know, we're also explaining it. We're double checking different things.
So so it moved half a thou.
Okay.
Which is 5/10, which is
5/10.
when you take your hair and split it in 10 or 30. You take a hair and you split it. We need a
Well, it depends on if it's a pube or a head hair.
you split a hair.
Depends how thick your hair is. Right?
You split it in 30, and then you take one of those and you split it in half. That's what it moved.
Wow.
That's what we're
So,
measuring.
so now do you go back to the front, the first hole again?
Yeah.
And then do you come back to this one again, or do you do each one?
I'll go back to the first one. And usually it's just, I get the 0, I move it, I change the 0, I go back here, maybe I move it. Most times I do move it, I go back here and it is 0.
Okay.
We're
So
way
it's usually just
above tolerance right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's way good right now, but
perfection.
we're going to the best we can.
Yeah.
This is
35
you know,
times.
Yeah, it says right here 30. Oh yeah, but so this is a human hair. This is what when he said so 5 of those is what was off before. We'll see what this is at now. And then when we're in the fuel injection room and he's building pumps and stuff, this is what we're measuring in this range. The clearance on them.
So it looks like
it
we're
didn't
still
really-
we're still off by half a thou.
And you know,
Technology.
it's weird, huh?
Wonder what happened here.
I don't know.
It's like the
It's
little.
when some dumbass just took a hammer and went at it.
The sound didn't
No,
sound
Somebody
right.
was trying to do the sound. But just so you guys know, this is the block. If you go back and look, you can see this marks down at Merlin.
This is
This is the block.
legitimately the block that was pulled out of the dumpster.
Yeah.
That was, and I'm going to mark it. I'm going to put D2D on it, dumpster to dyno. This thing's going world famous.
Yeah, one way or the other.
Perfect.
Now it's perfect.
Now it's perfect. So we know we changed it by 2/10. We know we can measure a tenth with this. This will run in tenths, and right there, it is right at 0. And you got to look at it dead on. I'm not making excuses, because if you look at it right here, that's a thou off. But when you look at it at a straight 90-degree angle, that is at 0. Right there, we're gonna probe auto center, which this will just probe the deck and set that as our 0, or tell us what it is, and then I'll be able to change it. So we can tell it's negative 0.2 and 0.8. That's from where I had it zeroed on the last block. So I just hit, I zero that. Set that as my 0, then I move it up, make sure it actually moved up, and then I tell the machine to probe it. And that'll tell us the different heights it's at along the deck. Even though the main bore is level, the deck's not going to be level.
Okay.
Right here is how far off. That's actually a pretty good deck. So right here, this is probe 1. Each one of these numbers represents where it probed on the block. So it went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So we have 8 probes, and this is where they
So
all.
the very first one was 1/10,
Yeah.
which is because he set his 0 there,
Yeah.
right? So that's going to be where it was.
So it's
So then the next probe, which was over here,
sorry.
was about 1,000th lower or higher. Negative.
That'd be higher.
So it's about 1,000th higher here. And then all the way down, and then I'm thinking this 6 was probably like right here. You can see this kind of messed up, is about 1.5 thou taller than this first initial probe. So that is pretty straight.
Yeah, that's really good for what we see. That's really good. A lot of,
That's
especially
because it was what? Made in
USA block.
Made in the USA.
USA block.
That could be part of it.
So
That
how-
would be interesting to keep track.
Okay.
So how far out have you seen them sometimes?
With the probe,
Yeah.
by probing it, I've seen them as far out as 2,000ths and 7/10ths. That's just last week. I don't keep a track, but I can.
Oh, we've
It's just-
seen some in the 3 to 4,000ths range that are really bad.
But once we actually start, this is only where at those spots. Once we start cutting them, we can see how bad they actually are, and they can get really bad.
Right.
So now we know that the block is in here level. We've got our probes for the deck, but we're actually going to do the boring first. Because if it doesn't bore out, and we've got to sleeve it or something like that,
Then you'd have to
then
come
we'd
back
have
and
to
do
come back and deck
okay.
it again anyway. So this is just initial setup stuff at this point.
All right.
So now we're going to set up and probe it for the bore location. What is it doing again? All right, so now we just got, now that we have the block and everything leveled, we've got our probed, we've got everything lined with the crank, so now we're moving on to the bore. So on the cylinders, these things are not straight from the factory. One cylinder will be off this way, one cylinder will be off like back and forth. They won't be directly straight in line. So we don't like that. We want to make them straight in line. So what it's doing here is it's finding the center of every single one of those holes. And then we have a really cool tool. Up in here, we've got this blueprint button. That tells us where those holes, the center of each one of those bores should be, so that we can compare these, where this block is actually at, to those numbers, and put those bores right in the exact location. So now we've got everything set up, machine's ready to rock and roll. We've got our blueprints figured out, and we've got them inputted into the machine. So now we're going to go ahead and send 20 thousandths through this. Well, not quite 20. We're going to do a roughing pass in and make sure that it cleans up all the rust that's left in the cylinder and cleans up all the scarring and stuff from whatever happened. If it works good there, then we'll send it through the block. But we might have to make some adjustments on what it does on this first cylinder.
So there's only one thing that cuts, and it's not okay. It's
I'm just
one
very
side.
paranoid that I left a spacer bar in one, because that would just destroy a lot of.
Has it happened before?
It's never happened. I'm just paranoid about it.
Yeah. Well, it's a good thing to be paranoid about.
I was waiting for him to say, yeah, it happened once. And right after that's when the spindle went out. No, just kidding.
This is where you gotta.
It'll throw some stuff at you.
You saw that dust coming off of it?
Oh yeah. It's all the rust.
Oh yeah.
Throw it right into my. Sorry, throwing it right into my Mountain Dew.
You
here.
can see it, the scatter, like I don't know if you saw the pile that was on this. Should we try to get Merlin on FaceTime right now?
Right this second.
Yeah.
Sure. But you're
Call
gonna have to
Merlin.
film him from there on your FaceTime, unless we get him to download that program. You know what I mean? You'll just have to keep that running, and like unplug it so you get the mic, unless you can hear it from his.
You
mic.
might be able to hear it right
Yeah.
here. Merlin,
How's my block?
guess what, dude?
What?
I'm gonna FaceTime you.
Okay.
Is it picking up? Can you see me?
These guys need
All right.
to talk to AI to get their thing to work, apparently.
We're not supposed to be using AI, but we're gonna use it. Look at this thing. So it's in that hole. You're gonna find out with us how it looks. That's 20. How much over? This will be like a 20 over right here. But look at, she looks pretty good.
Wow. So what'd you do? Just run it through a hot wash or what?
Yeah, we washed it, buffed it up. She's rolling right now.
Oh, that's on the Rottler.
we've got it. This USA block's a good block. So we do everything off this crank right here. We put this bar through it, and then we measure. So we level this bar. This deck was only a thou and a half off, which is pretty good. And then we're only about a half to a full thousandth from center hole to center hole.
Oh, that's good. So there wasn't a lot of casting shift or anything.
Not that I saw. But we wanted you to see this first cylinder.
So this is 20 over, which is what, 50 millimeter, 0.50 millimeters?
Yep.
Okay.
She's getting down there into the rust right now because we didn't buff that out.
Oh yeah, it's probably gonna.
But after we got it cleaned up, number 2, 3, and 4 had heat problems. They grabbed the cylinder.
Okay, so that was why it was laid out.
Yeah, and I'm guessing that it cracked the head and that somebody threw the head away. That's why the head wasn't on it. All right.
Cool.
Look at how nice that. Still got a good sheen of oil on there. Yeah, you're on camera right now.
Yeah.
Kinda.
So I got
The
the
phone
kid
is.
here watching and learning too. That's all CNC machine.
Well,
Who you got with you?
Wes,
oh dude, look at that.
look at that. Yeah, it's perfect.
So there's a little rust at the top of the cylinder that's still in there, but I think we can hone that. We'll hone that out.
5 thou still.
Yeah, that's under 5 thousandths, so it's actually only like 15 thousandths.
You have to hone it. Yeah, okay.
We'll hone it another 5.
And that's
so.
the first hole you bored.
That's the first hole, so we're gonna go through the rest. It was the worst.
Right.
So now we're gonna send the machine through the rest of them, and we'll give you a report back.
Cool.
You said you
Good
had a good feeling about this block, Merlin, and it's
Looking pretty good.
It's looking
and then we're
pretty
gonna
good.
we'll deck it and stuff. So we're gonna do that tonight. So we'll let you know.
Awesome. Yeah, that's good. Hopefully we can save it.
Oh yeah, I think so.
That'll be cool.
All right.
Super cool. All right.
We'll see you later.
have a
Keep me
good night.
posted.
Bye.
Yeah, now how do you hang up?
Yeah, I don't know. God. this ancient artifact or whatever. This America block, I'm gonna call it America block,
America.
USA block, but this America block, Scott's dumpster dyno find,
Yeah, D2D.
so far is amazing. The worst we're saving for last, which is the deck. Usually we're gonna have to deck a lot off of it, but you never know, it could surprise us. But it bored over 20 thousandths and there's no rust, there's no etching, it took everything out. It looks one of the best I've seen.
One of the best.
One of the best I've seen, to be honest, really. So now we're ready to switch over to our fly cutter, and we're going to come in and surface the top of this deck. So this is really going to show us what this deck's all about.
Okay.
We're going to make this deck parallel now with what?
That rod
The
down there.
crankshaft, right?
The crankshaft.
It's the rod in there, but
Yeah.
it's the crankshaft. So we're about to do that. So watch as we make this deck, the top of this
Parallel.
block, parallel with the crank.
Oh
Send
yeah,
it. Why do we call it a fly cutter?
because it looks like a fly.
Giant fly flying through the air.
Is that
But
right?
hopefully we keep it in the machine.
Yeah.
But so it's going to come around and it's going to deck this. We're only asked it to do 1,000.
Half a thou for the first.
The first pass is only taking a half of a thousandth off this. Right now our deck height is at 716. Is what we measured from the crank to this deck. So we're going to match that across.
So isn't it a half of 1,500?
That's a half of an inch.
No, you're looking
I'm
at
just
0.0005.
So remember back when I said take your hair, cut it into 30.
I remember. I'm just
All right.
send it. Do I get to say that, or do you have to say it?
So what do we say now?
Send it. There you go. Did you see that? Wow.
Oh shit.
Yo. Dude, if we don't have
So we're over here just about to be finished up with decking and boring out this dumpster to dyno block. But I just wanted to show you guys, these were the pistons that came out of this thing. So I am absolutely blown away of how well this block machined and how it looks. But as you can see what the muriatic acid did to these things. But also as I'm looking at these, I actually think I know some of the failure of this. So you can see that we've got some pretty nice looking pistons here. We've got a little scuffing going on here. But what we've really got is this one's got a lot more scuffing and really scuffed up. This is caused by heat. So these pistons, a piston is not round. Okay, these look round, but they're not round. They're oval shaped. They're actually in an oval. And they're designed to, at certain temperatures, they're designed to change their, go round when they heat up. Well, if you get over that temperature that it's designed to run at, or something happens, or you're hot rodding it, I'm thinking this is out of, you know, I don't know that this is necessarily out of a pickup because I've only seen like parts of the block. But I'm thinking this is an overheat. You know, something could have happened. It happened in number 2, number 3, and number 2, number 3, number 4. Number 3 being the worst of them all. So I just wanted to show you guys that the actual failure of this motor was an overheat, scuffed and locked up. Probably was knocking, slapping around. Changed the size of this when it starts wearing this off. Changes the size of this. But.
So we're here at the F79. We've bored it. We've surfaced it, and the block actually turned out really good for a dumpster block.
Yeah, I can't believe that this was that we pulled this out of the dumpster, but it's the same block.
And you said we went down 8 thousandths on the.
We ended up taking 8 thousandths off of it, so which is pretty common on a 12 valve. It had a lot of etching and stuff, but it cleaned up really nice. We've had to take a lot more than that off of before, but we'll now cut the pistons down for this block to match so that we have the factory compression back in this block.
So I'm learning a lot, but I'm not learning how to run all these machines because that would take us probably a year to teach me. But so we had the experts running the machines, but this thing's amazing and I'm excited to go to the next step. What?
Yep, the next step is to take this thing off and send it over to the line hone. We're gonna make sure that the mains all touch up and look really nice, get them back to factory spec, and then we'll go into the hone. That's where we actually take the rest of this base metal, because we left it 5 thousandths in here for 20 over. 20 over is where we had to take this block. So we've left some base metal in here. You can't go right to 20 over and then just hone 1,000th. You need some actual base metal there to be able to hone into what you want. So I'm gonna explain that when we're at the hone, and we're gonna deck plate this thing. I'll explain what deck plating or torque plating. You guys comment below what you guys prefer to be called, either deck plating or torque plating when you're machining a block. And it's a really cool process, and we'll explain how that works. But let's take this thing over to the hone.
Heck yeah.
3 weeks later.
What is this machine and what are we doing next?
So this is our line hone, a line hone. We're gonna align the mains now into a line, basically. The biggest thing with what we're doing here is we're not gonna re-line bore it or anything. We're gonna make sure that all of our mains are the right diameter and everything, and that we can go in and everything's in a straight line. So that crankshaft is in a straight line. So
it's a hone.
We're basically just taking off any high spots and we're not really resizing anything. We're just we're resizing it to 1/10. We're changing it a little bit, but we'll kind of walk you through that process and show you how we make sure that our mains are all straight. We're gonna put this in this machine. We're gonna put our ARP studs in it and torque it down to the proper torque so it feels like it's assembled, so we can move it on to the next step.
So with the line hone, do you still use the same main caps?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. We're gonna basically take your factory main caps and block, and
Is that what this?
yep, we're gonna
this
take
is?
these caps and we're gonna basically clean all this ridges and high spots up on it, and make sure that this is all form fitted to the block. And then you're gonna go into.
There's a bearing that sits right here,
Yep,
right?
we're gonna make sure that everything's the proper sizing so that the bearings fit in there nicely, and then there's no high spots or anything protruding onto a bearing surface or anything like that.
All right.
Why do you do that with the dowels, Chad?
Open them up a little bit to make them so they fit in there nice and not sloppy.
We use all ARP hardware in all of our engines. We're going to go ahead and put the ARP hardware in now and then torque them to the correct torque spec. That's going to allow everything to settle, distort, and do what it needs to do on the bottom end, so that when we run the line hone through here, it's actually looking like it's actually torqued together, and it's simulating that it's in the truck assembled, so that we can, so that the mains and everything are concentric with the bores. So everything's in a line, and all so that everything is.
Hibbida, hibbida, hibbida.
I don't know what it's called.
Hibbida.
I've got the flu. He said he won't need it for us. All right, so these 12 valves, these 12 valves already come with 14 millimeter main stud size. So these are an ARP 14 millimeter main stud that we use. This is the factory Cummins bolt, and it's a 14 millimeter thread only, and then it shanks down to a 12 millimeter shank. So if you tighten these a little too tight or whatever, don't follow proper torquing procedures, or if you have a fatigued bolt, you can stretch this bolt a little better, or a little easier than this ARP stud that's a 14 millimeter thread and 14 millimeter shank. So it's a little bit better. It gives you more clamping force than this bolt. That's why we choose this ARP hardware stuff to use in our engines.
That's cool. Party foul. Already dropped one.
That ain't never coming out.
Oh. 175 foot-pounds.
175 foot-pounds.
And you do it in 3 equal steps.
Uh-oh.
You might get lit up in the comments for that.
For what? What did I do?
You're supposed to hold it.
Huh?
Put your hand out on the end. Not supposed to hold here,
Oh, you're not?
because you can influence it.
Okay. Well,
And then just
that's,
an easy
that's why I'm learning here.
pull until it buzzes at you.
Okay. I like to get lit up in the comments.
Yeah, it's all right. You're learning. There we go. That's 95.
All right, so what he's doing now is he's checking. We've got everything torqued to the proper torque sequence. So this simulates what it would be like in the truck with the crank and the bearings hooked to it. So what he's checking now is the side to side, the up and down, to see how far out it is. Make sure that we don't need to take it back apart, flip the caps and suck them back down. So we're going to measure it within a few tenths is what we're shooting for here. Now he's got
I'm just giving her a couple strokes and check her out afterwards. See if we got to go more.
glue. They're looking all pretty good right now. They're all, you're looking for plus half to 6, somewhere in there, 5 to 6 tenths
On the plus side.
on the plus side. Now it puts us right in the middle of the spec for Cummins on these main caps.
Actually looks really pretty good.
So now that we've finished up the line hone process, we've got it torqued in here, we've got it all straight, everything, all the high spots are taken off, we've got a nice edge, we've got a nice surface all the way around. We're gonna leave this torqued just like it is, so that when we flip it over and put it into the hone and we put our deck plate on it, the whole block will be simulated, put together as we finish the hone over here. So we'll get it out of this machine, we'll get it flipped around and get it put over into the HX85 hone, and we'll show you guys that process next. So we got our bore size here and our deck size right
Oh
here.
yeah.
So now we're gonna actually, because it's actually under, it's not actually 20 over yet. It's only 15 over, roughly.
And
So
then
we're
this.
gonna take 5 thousandths more out of it.
Okay.
But right now all he's doing is he's setting up his X and Y axis. Then he'll take this up out and we'll deck plate it. So he knows, so this machine will know where the top of this block is, so we can set our over and under stroke.
Okay.
This is one of the things that we take pride in what we do here. A lot of machine shops will just hone it, bore it, hone it, all that. So I'm gonna go in and show you guys right now. This is without a deck plate on it, and I'll explain what a deck plate is, but as you can see, there's about 6-7 thousandths. 0 would be 20 over, so it is pretty dang straight. If you guys notice that, it's pretty straight. The problem is it's straight right now, not assembled. We need to simulate this thing being assembled and torqued and everything distorted the way it is, and we want it to be straight then. So I'm gonna go in here, we're gonna deck plate it, put our studs on, torque it down, and then I'm gonna show you how distorted it is before we hone it.
So something we do here is we go through before we torque our deck plate on, and we go through and tap every bolt for the head bolts, because especially on these 12 valves, these holes are always corroded, and especially because this was the dumpster to dyno block, this was really rusty and really corroded. So you really need to make sure that you go through, tap all your holes before we go and put a brand new bolt in there.
Okay guys, so now we're back. We've got our deck plate installed. It's torqued to the proper torque specs. Now it's actually distorted like it would be in the truck. So if we just left it like that, we're gonna have some irregularity. So back in the same hole, up here at the top, we were almost 7 thousandths, and we're all the way down to just over 5. So like you can see, as we go down, it gets closer to that. So it's like barrel shaped, if you can see that. So what this does for us is we're simulating the head and everything bolted together like it would be before it runs. So now we're gonna go in and hone the cylinders and make them straight. And then once we take everything off and disassemble it, it'll be crooked or it'll be distorted anyway. And then we can bolt it back together with the new head and everything, the pistons in it, and all the machine work will be straight again. What it's doing right here is it's coming in here and it's checking the actual size of the hole. So it's going down, it's touching the bottom, touching the top, then it's gonna send it through. He's told it to take out 3 thousandths is what he's told it to take out. We have roughly 6 thousandths that we can take out. This has been bored over there on our big F79, you guys saw that, but we only took it to about 15 thousandths. We left 5 thousandths roughly to take out so that we can get to base material with the hone. We can't go straight to 20 thousandths. We've got to go in increments so that the hone can actually get the base metal back down there. Get it so that it's nice and straight. We can get the base metal with the hone. And I'm going to explain to you guys now what the difference between a bore surface and a hone surface.
Now.
If you want to look down here, you're going to see the cross hatching in there. the surface in that one compared to that one. That one's a bore, and this is a honed. If you can see that down in there, I'm not sure if you can.
All the way down in there?
Yeah, not up here. Not there, down there.
Do you have a light you can shine in there for me? I can see that. I can see it now. I see that crosshatch. And then in there you don't see any crosshatch.
What is the difference between a bore surface and a hone surface? Why can't we just bore it, put pistons in it, and run it? Well, the issue is this, under a microscope, that is what the surface looks like. It's torn. It's ripped out of there. On a bore, this is your surface. So what we do is we take that. Now we need to get this back down to base metal. We've got what's called peaks and valleys, and we need to go in there and make we still need valleys. We still need to retain oil, but we need to go in there and get our hone set up. So basically what we're doing now is our hone comes in and we've got much sharper, smaller peaks and valleys. Okay, that's good. That's great. The issue is we still have peaks and valleys, and now we want to do what's called plateau honing, and we're going to go in and take off all the peaks and make these like plateaus, if that makes sense. And so your ring will glide across that surface, still retaining the oil in there. And what's really cool about that is we have a little machine, a little gauge that will actually read those surfaces. So we can go in and set this up exactly the right surface finish that we want. We'll show you that here at the end. But right now we're going to get all of these cylinders honed and brought into within about 5/10 of finished. And then we will finish it off with the plateau honing and stuff. So we'll take you through that process.
Different stone. And these are more of just like a, they're not a grit, they're just a flat surface. So they're not cutting or doing anything. All they're doing is,
So like when he had that drawing, like
Yeah.
right here,
right,
this is,
We're just doing that.
just
right now.
chopping the tops of the peaks off.
okay.
Basically making it same as like when you swedge your bushings and stuff. You're making the wear, so now you ain't gonna get the rings cutting. The rings aren't doing that work. The
Right.
machine did that work. Now your rings are gonna last that much longer because they didn't have to break in.
Okay.
Right.
You're basically breaking it in already for the rings instead of the rings doing all the work, chopping those things off, wearing them out.
Right.
Or making it flat. It should last a lot longer.
I'm gonna pull this deck plate off, and then we're gonna do something with some prophylactics or something like that.
I don't know what that is, but
Profilometer?
profilometer, yeah.
Okay.
Or a profile meter.
Profile.
Depends what country you're in.
Oh,
Yeah,
profilometer.
right. So we're gonna profilometer it. We're gonna see exactly what the surface finish of this block is. We have a secret spec that we can't say on video what it is, but we like to keep it within that spec, and we're gonna show you that process. We're not gonna show you the numbers, but we're gonna show you that process. And
Right on.
yeah.
So I'll pull this deck plate off.
We're going to go ahead and measure the surface finish of this block, and we're going to be doing that with this profilometer. What this does is there's a little diamond tip on there, and you place it down there in the block, and it'll go and drag that tip across the block, and it'll actually show you on here, I'll show you in a second, the peaks and valleys and how deep and how high those are, and then it gives you an average of what those are.
That's what it has.
Graph, and then it's going to give us a number, and that's going to basically tell us exactly what our peaks and valleys are, so we can make sure that we'll have the right amount of oil retention at the same time as enough smoothness so that the rings do not wear out as easy.
All right, so we ran that profilometer on this, and as Bryton explained, that's showing, you know, the honing,
Peaks
the
and valleys.
the peaks and valleys
Yep.
inside the cylinder, and
And she tested good. This is right within our spec, and that's it for this block. She's ready to final wash, and yeah.
Final wash down. And now next time, what are we doing next time?
Yeah, so in the next video, we're gonna be building his head. We're gonna be doing the rods. We're gonna show you how we remachine the rods. We're gonna show you all the steps to redoing the crankshaft and the camshaft. So there's gonna be a lot in that video.
Nice.
Hopefully we can fit it in one video. But
you're the head guy around here, right?
yeah, I mean, I'm the everything guy.
Just
Just do everything, but just kidding. Yeah.
Awesome.
But,
So I'm excited about that. This has been an awesome time here, learning about the honing and the profilometer.
It's not as easy as it looks, is it?
Well, you know, it's easy to supervise.
Right, yeah, right.
I'm kind of tired. As you can see, Dustin, he got a bellyache or something. He had to go home.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
We
That's
missed
where
him
Dustin
today.
went, if you guys were wondering where he went.
But we made it without him.
Yeah.
So
Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe and stay tuned for the next video. And make sure you go find that red injector.
yeah. All right. Thanks, guys.
See ya.